talked all about career systems that are available at UCLan. So this is Handshake, and you can get there by going to www.uclan.ac.uk/handshake. And to note as well, this is a browser version, but there's also a Handshake app on Google for Android, and there's a Handshake app on Apple for iPhones. So you can also go and get the app as well. The app's doesn't have quite as much stuff in it as actually this the browser does, but it's actually very good because it actually has like a social media feed with videos and useful things inside it. So it's a good thing to go and get the app, so you've got that on your phone and it's easy to use. So from the homepage of Handshake, you basically get information about sessions that employers are running. You can message various employers that are available to talk to about various jobs. It also looks at how you use the platform and shows you jobs that would be popular for you based on your interests, and also jobs that are popular on your own course. So what are other people looking at from the course that you're on, and other recommendations and things like that. So that's just the homepage there. Mostly focuses around jobs and employers. Now, the first bit on the left-hand side here is the Jobs tab. And this is where most people have got to go really in Handshake, because the platform's mostly about jobs and communication with the career service. So if we go to jobs, you'll see today there's a 2,200 jobs, and that's pretty good. I mean, I've seen it go to 2,500 before, so there's a fair number of jobs in the platform at the moment, especially around the beginning of the academic year. This time of year, employers are looking. And jobs are kind of there, and you can basically kind of just scroll through jobs that are here for you, and these jobs will be here displayed based on what you're looking at in the platform. So if you look at a lot of jobs about history, there'll be lots of history jobs. If you look at jobs about science, there'll be lots of science jobs, if those jobs are there. If they're not there, it'll populate it with like other different types of jobs that you might be interested in. So it's quite intelligent that way in providing you with something, that it believes that you're interested in looking at. Now, you can click on, if there's somebody's name below a job, you can click on that, well, actually on the job itself, and you can actually send a message to that person about that particular job. So that's useful, because most jobs boards, they're generally just like loads of jobs that you can apply for, but quite often here the employers do allow you to message them and ask them a question about the job. So that can actually be a very good thing to do if you've got some questions, rather than just applying. Ask some kind of useful questions, and that can sometimes just put you on that employer's radar for when you do apply. They've already got an idea of who you are as an individual. Sometimes they allow video calls with them as well. That's rarer, but it is sometimes a possible way you can actually do a 15-minute video chat if you're so confident that you could do that. Some jobs say apply externally, and that means that you'll be applying on a form for the employer outside of Handshake. But there will be some jobs where it says to apply. So probably just go and click on two. Most of them are probably going to be external, but there will be jobs, especially the jobs that are listed from UCLan. So let's go and have a look at some of the UCLan roles. So this one here should say apply. So if they are jobs that are specifically on Handshake, you'll be able to apply directly via Handshake with a CV, with a covering letter, any kind of documents that the business has asked for. So sometimes when you click on here, they ask you for certain types of documentation that they would like as part of your application. You can kind of click on any job and favorite it, and they'll go up into this saved area up here. You'll get jobs emails to remind you about when the job is expiring and other jobs from that particular organisation. So you can do that. When you go into particular jobs, let's see, see if I can find a local business here, like BAE Systems. So if I was to go into BAE Systems, I can look down and kind of see information about the company, but I can also I can see that they've got some alumni, some graduates who worked at BAE. So you can actually go, and when you see that, you can click on them and go, maybe I would like to work for this company. Students from UCLan are already working at this company. Maybe I can send them a message because they've graduated, they've left, they've moved on, and it's a great way really of reaching out and saying, what's it like to work there? What's the interview process like? So it's very, very valuable to be able to kind of just look at the bottom of each of the jobs and see, do they actually have any? Now, some of them won't, but some of them will. So it's quite useful to be able to kind of connect with people who are already there. That's something as well that most job platforms don't do. Most platforms are just listing jobs and you're applying. So Handshake's different because it allows you to communicate with people. So send a message, do a video call perhaps, send messages to people who work there from UCLan or from any people who've worked there from any of the platforms at universities that are on Handshake, about 30 of them in the UK. So it's quite a large number of potential sort of graduates that you can kind of reach out to. It has these kind of UCLan collections at the top. So if you want to kind of find out businesses that are close to UCLan or businesses that are popular with our graduates, you can kind of just click on these particular ones and it shows you kind of businesses that are sort of close to where we are. If you're looking to work in the local area, but any of these are quite useful that we've curated together for you. But you can also search via location, distances from certain locations as you'd expect. Whether it's like on-site or remote work, whether it's full-time or internships, and you've got a raft of other kind of filters that you can kind of search from. So it's quite good because systems that we've had in the past haven't really been as good when it comes to having as many ways to search. So that's useful. When you click application, when you do apply, if you click on applications, it keeps a track of the jobs that you've applied for, and you can see whether they're pending or whether they've declined or whether you've been successful. That only depends really on whether the employer has actually been good enough to update that information. But if you do apply for a UCLan role, we do make sure that we make sure that those are up to date. You've also got employers, and here you can see all the employers that are on Handshake. So there are almost 21,000 UK employers on the platform at the moment, and it seems to be going up all the time. Lots and lots of employers are on. And you can do basically a search by employer size, search by whatever industry you want to search for, and you can search by locations as well. So it's useful to kind of see them, and you can follow them as well to get information about kind of jobs that they've got available as well. So it is a big jobs platform. All the jobs that you see listed are jobs that companies want UCLan students for. So they're not just jobs that are just any job. The company specifies that they want UCLan students to work for them. So that's good because it's not just any random role. It's actually things that they're looking for you as a student or students of anybody. So that's good. So that's all I'll say about that jobs area. It's best to explore, have a little bit of a play. We've got events here. So there's basically lots of events that are on. You can see jobs, careers fairs at UCLan by clicking on that particular one there. You can see employer events, you can see advice that we're giving, events that we're giving, and employer hosted events. But if you don't do those ones there, you just basically get all of them. And there's quite a bit of a mixture. There's careers fairs that we're running, there's sessions that we're running from careers, but there's also some large companies in here as well. Here's a big one with some quite big known banks in there. We've got here some big name solicitors. PricewaterhouseCoopers, JP Morgan, they're very big companies. They're basically, you can go on and just find out about the employer and the kind of jobs that they're offering. There's so many particular ones here you could go and actually do. So it's really great to see there's so many online events that students can participate in, but also come to the fairs as well. If you come to any of our careers fairs in semester one, and check in, you'll get entered in a prize draw to win a Surface Go worth almost £400. So it's worthwhile coming to as many careers fairs as you can because you get entered into the prize draw. So we've got this Q&A section is basically employers answering students' questions, which is quite interesting. And here we've got a place where you can contact other students at UCLan by sending them a message, or you can contact students at other universities. If you want alumni graduates, you can click on graduates and you'll get all the graduates from UCLan here, and you can search them by employers and sectors and courses, and you can message them to kind of find out how they're doing, as we said already. But you can really kind of make connections with other students, but also connections with people who've left and moved on. So it's really good because it's not just a static platform. Again, it's all about communication. It's all about networking. It's all about building up relationships, and that's really very valuable. We tend to think of it as kind of the LinkedIn of universities. So LinkedIn's kind of more for established employers, and when of course, you can go on there as a student as well. But here, it's more about kind of like employers looking for students that they can work with. And if you are on the platform, it means that employers can find you if you make yourself available for employers to see you. When you first start using the platform, you've got the choice to be seen by everybody in the community, just by employers, or just to be private. So you can choose who you want to be seen by. And if you go to the top right and you click my profile, you can actually build up a profile for yourself. You can put your picture if you want, a bio about yourself, your education, your work experience, organizations, projects you're doing, what kind of skills that you've got, CV and other documents if you want to put them up. So it's very good because it's very much like LinkedIn, and people will be very, very used to kind of making a profile on the platform. But employers can search for these profiles. So if they're looking for someone from a particular course or a particular sector, they can search for those people. And if you're there and you're visible, you've set yourself visible, then you can be seen. And then maybe the employers might be able to send you a message and invite you to interview or ask you some questions, etc., etc. You can also go up to this top right and you can go to settings and privacy, and you can change your sort of level of visibility at any time by selecting that there. And also, if you're in here and you set notifications, you can also choose, like, if you've got any, what kind of emails you want to receive, what kind of messages you want to receive to your mobile phone app, etc. So you don't have to be deluged with emails. You might just choose to say that you want certain particular things. If you do receive a message from an employer, it'll come into this inbox on the left-hand side, and then you'll be able to see the employer sending you a message, and then you'll be able to type a message back here and press send, and then you'll be able to have a conversation backwards and forwards with employers. And lots of students do. The students who have had like many messages with many employers and built up quite a large set of networking, and that is quite common, and students can do that. So yeah, that's your inbox there. It's very easy to reply. It's not like live or anything, but it's like it's very, very easy. It's not like having emails. It's a little bit harder, but this is a lot more easy to kind of facilitate. Also, we should say the last bit on the left-hand side is the Career Centre, and this is where students can go to do mainly booking appointments. So if you go to Career Centre and then go to appointments, you can book an appointment, click on careers, and then you can choose the 4 different types of appointment that are available to you. Most of them are 45 minutes, but this one, quick query, is 20 minutes. And then if you click on any particular type of appointment that you want to have with the careers advisors, whether it be an application check, mock interview, a careers advice session, you can just click on the different days. You can find out which advisors are available when you're free, and then you can click on them, and you can kind of say whether you want it face-to-face or virtual, if that's an option to you at that point. And then you can leave a little bit of message for the advisor to say what they can help you with, and then just say request, and then you'll get an email reminder, and you'll get an email reminder the day before. And I think even on the same day, you also get a reminder too. So you get reminders about them, and you can actually do the careers advice appointments online on your phone as well, inside the app, or just on your browser or anything like that. So if you want to just do online face-to-face, you can come into the Career Centre and talk to the advisor one-to-one, or you can just come to our drop-ins and talk to us there. Also on this Career Centre page, you can see the curated employers again, but down here there's also a public staff list, so you can have a look, and you can kind of click on the staff that you want to send a message to, including just careers in general. And then when you click on there, you can send us a message, and then we'll all reply to you. So it's just another easy, quick, fast way of getting in touch with ourselves, careers advisors. You might not want a full session. You might just want to ask a question and get that one done. So that's been my 15 minutes on Handshake. I think I covered that quite well. So let's move on to Career Edge. So the next platform is Career Edge, and you can get to there by going to www.uclan.ac.uk/career edge, or one word. And this really is our what we would call a resources platform, or a platform for more engagement with learning. Now, on the top of here, there's this banner that's scrolling along, and this is telling you about recent things that are happening. So maybe this prize draw that we've got at the moment, maybe the careers fairs about to come along, as the future fairs that are coming up, and various other things that we're wanting to tell you about at the top. And then here, these 4 boxes here, these really comprise the careers website. So if you click into any of these boxes, you can find lots of different information about the kind of offerings that we've got as a career service, really. So we've got things about the competition that we're running, all about what the career support we offer, events, about 2 of the systems we've got here. And then I should mention really the school careers pages. So every school that you're a part of has a area, a website basically on here. And if you were, say, for example, you're in the business school, you could click on there, or any of the schools, and find out who your careers advisor is. You can find what options that might be available to you in the future as part of after doing your degree. And you can also find job search sites as well, looking for jobs, or even professional bodies to join as well. And then the transferable skills that employers are looking for. And you can take these LinkedIn courses to build up your skills. And there's also a future section as well, where you can find case studies of people who've gone on to work in your industry, types of suggested employers, and sometimes even postgraduate courses as well that are available. We are going to be bringing some mentors in as well to the platform very, very shortly. We source a big supply of mentors that we're going to be able to put in. And then the resources are talks that advisors have given inside workshops to students inside classrooms, and so there's quite a big load of archived resources that you can get in and look through those. So it's basically with Career Edge, which we'll see in a minute, there's lots of very generic resources about absolutely everything you could need to know about getting a job. So what we've done in the school pages here is we've tried to focus that down and give you something that's specific to yourselves inside your schools and courses, so that you're not necessarily overwhelmed by the large amount of content that's on the platform here. So we'll have a look at that now, which is mainly starting off with this popular tools menu. So we have the complete CV solution. So in here, you've got a CV builder where you can build your CV. And you've also got here CV 360, where you can upload your CV and have it checked automatically by the computer. Now, when it checks it automatically, it checks it against 50 different criteria, and you get a PDF report pretty much instantly that you can look through, and it suggests improvements. Now, you could make those improvements, and then you can put the CV back in, and it'll tell you whether you've improved it. So we see students all the time, they put the CV in, they check it, put it in again, they put it in again. I think the most I've seen anyone do was 10 times. They put the CV through, just keep improving it incrementally over and over again, But the good thing is it picks out really key things that people make mistakes on. So you could really get away from common mistakes pretty quickly as well. And CV review, you can basically go back to CV builder and submit your CV for an advisor to look at. You have to just put it in through there. It could be a Word document or a PDF document, and then the advisor will check it, and you'll get a PDF report with the advisor's comments on how they believe that you could also improve your CV. So they might be more information around how to maybe tailor the CV sometimes. If you're saying that you're going for a particular sector, the CV 360 won't really do that for you, because it doesn't really tailor it, or so it makes suggestions about like how you could make it good for an arts role or a business role. Whereas if somebody's looking at it who's a human, they've got more experience in the real world and being able to do that. So, we can go right from cradle to grave here, building a CV, getting it checked by a digital system, and getting it checked by a human as well. And the cover letter builder helps you to build a cover letter to go alongside the CV when you're submitting the CV for any role. it's not antiquated. People still do look for cover letters still these days, certain types of employers. Some people might appreciate that sort of cover letter coming alongside the CV to introduce the CV. So that's really there. It is a complete CV solution. There's no, it's definitely 100%. That's what it is. So it's worthwhile going there. Interview 360, the second one down, that really helps you to practice interviewing online. So what you can do is you can actually take any interviews here. So you can basically say, browse the different types of interviews that are available, and you can take any of these pre-created ones, or you can create your own interview by selecting different types of questions you want to get asked. So the great thing is basically you can just practice the types of interviews that you might get. Lots of employers, especially big employers, do try to get people to do things that are online first, to weed the candidates down, to reduce the candidates before they invite them in for a physical interview. So, that kind of thing has escalated, especially since the pandemic. Video interviews have become a bit more common. So it's worthwhile just going in here and practicing things as well. You can also even just click in and just have a look at just general interview questions that get asked. It doesn't seem to be coming in now, so you can kind of look at the kind of questions that get asked, and you can search for different types of questions and then find out the kind of questions. So it's useful to prepare for an interview. It doesn't mean that you're going to get asked those questions, but it means that you've been able to sort of prepare for the kinds of questions that you might be asked, and that's valuable. And also, when you finish doing the online practice, you can play back the videos. You can see what you look like on there. You can also show them to other people. If you've gone in for a talk with a careers advisor, you could also tell a careers advisor you've done them and maybe ask them if they'll have a look, and they can also see them and respond to them. But generally, they don't respond to them unless they're asked to respond to them. But yeah, it's there. And also, there's lots of information about how to do good interview preparation, lots of videos about, how you could get better at doing interviews, because interviews are really one of the hardest parts for many people. People get nervous, and interview skills are really, really important. But good CVs, of course, good applications, good interviews are all really equally important. But lots of information is there for you. I'll come back to this one later. Careers e-learning. This is a very big area inside the platform, and there's tons and tons and tons of really good learning content in here. So there's stuff about skills, there's stuff about career possibilities, about types of industries, and then we get into kind of like how to search for jobs, how to do good CVs and applications, how to do good interviews. And then when you basically kind of get a job, what's it like to have a new job? How will you manage your career? What skills might you need in the workplace? How do you do well as a manager or a leader? And then even kind of like how to deal with kind of being resilient and change in the workplace, and even business skills and IT skills as well are all here. And if you click into any particular element, it basically says, okay, I'm going to give you these things about job searching, but then you can load more. And then you can go down and you can load more. There's basically 15 years worth of content in here. And sometimes it is a bit overfacing for students, but there's no excuse really for not really knowing about everything you need to get a job is in here, and there's so much information in here. So it all depends on how much time one has and how much inclination one has to really develop themselves, because just getting a degree and finishing, that's not really a guarantee of a job. You've got to get the job. So knowing the skills and abilities that you would need to get a job is a little bit of learning that you could put in just to make yourself more likely to get the job quicker or to get the job you want, rather than just kind of just sending the application off and going to the interview and kind of hoping for the best. No, it's not quite the same as actually putting in a little bit of preparation work. And it is something you could do at any point, but also it's something you could do, just before you were looking to make that application, or just before you were looking to do that interview, so it's up to you kind of when you kind of come at that kind of e-learning. But there is so much there, and it's really good. Most of it's written by careers professionals, careers advisors, or people who work kind of in the kind of advice industry for this kind of a space, so they know what they're talking about, and the content's constantly checked and updated to make sure it's the latest. You may never experience an assessment centre, but that's something that's also available in here. You can practice in quite a lot of depth for what it would be like to actually go to an assessment centre, and often that's kind of done by large organisations, but other people do them as well. But you can really practice what it would be like, so you're not too phased by walking into a very large kind of apprentice Alan Sugar type experience of lots of other people there doing kind of tasks together and getting multiple interviews and quizzes and things like that. So you don't want to go into an assessment centre unprepared, really. We also have an elevator pitch builder, so you can kind of sell yourself really, really quickly. And I'll move on here to job research up here. So here there's an area where you can search for jobs. Now that takes you into Handshake, we've already seen, but we also have an area for part-time jobs that are in the local area. So there'll be lots of links that come up on screen in a minute for different types of jobs, part-time jobs that are available in the area. And then there's also a few other things here. There's jobs that are actually available on Career Edge, and they're sourced from Indeed, which is a very large jobs board, but there's lots of jobs on there, and various other job search kind of sites you can go to here as well. There are also lots of assessments and things you can do to kind of assess yourself. So you can kind of see how you're kind of rating and kind of your strengths, or kind of like, your learning styles or your temperament, or lots of other things that could help you to identify kind of skills and abilities or ways to sell yourself to an employer. If you know yourself well, when someone comes to ask you a question about yourself, you'll then be able to answer it really, really easily. Also in the job search area, I should mention there's a labour market information, and this is quite useful because you can actually drill down into lots of different sectors and find out about lots of different roles. But you can also find out the kind of salaries, the kind of hours you might work, and get lots of different information about kind of like, different pay in different parts of the country, etc., etc. So it's really, really useful to explore that LMI area. Now, I will say in the last few minutes on this system, we've got this program area, and you can actually do the sort of quizzy type things, and when you do them, they'll identify areas that you're sort of strong at and areas that you're weak at. So if you did the career planning pulse, it would identify areas in which you need to improve in your career planning. But if you did the Career Edge Plus pulse, it will identify areas which you are maybe stronger or weaker at in your employability skills. So it might be that, you're not doing particularly well with oral communication, or it might be you're not very good with team working maybe, and then maybe that's something that you need to know so you can identify those things. Now, when you finish it, these two, they direct you at the wards below. And you can then look at those particular sort of things that you might want to improve, and then decide that you want to spend a little bit of time looking at those particular things. So in here, we've got the Career Edge model, which is why the system is called Career Edge. And if I go into generic skills, for example, which are transferable skills, it might have identified that maybe you need some help with communication skills or IT skills or team working. And then if you go into these particular areas, it's basically said, well, if you do these bit of learning, you'll learn all those key things you might need to know in order to become a little bit better at those particular areas. So really, these programs here, they're like curated areas where, rather than searching yourself really through all of the e-learning that we saw before, if you were to do these top 4, it kind of directs you at really key things that you would need to know. Also, in 5 steps to success, we've got these all part of the learning materials about different parts of the recruitment process. So, job hunting and networking and interviews. So they're all there. And we also have one about resilience. So, how to be strong and kind of deal with change and deal with sort of issues and problems that you may face. The last bit, we've got 1 minute left, is on this system, is in the advice area, you can go and see the careers team. So you can see me, you can see the careers advisors, and you can click to send messages to the careers advisors and see their profiles as well. We also have our careers resources area, which has lots of booklets that the careers team has written, and other things as well, like our YouTube channel and our podcasts and other careers books that you can read as well. So there's lots of things there. We also have some specialist areas as well. So international students could benefit from the international students area. Students with disabilities may benefit from our inclusive support area, where I believe that we've just changed this to allow some information on specific disabilities as well that you can get. So that's quite valuable. And also as well, information about, if you're a degree apprentice or if you're doing postgraduate research as well. And there's lots of news articles here. If you come on to Career Edge, you'll find that you will start to receive a newsletter, and that newsletter looks like this, and it comes through every Friday morning, and you'll get an email newsletter with lots of useful things coming through to you from there. So that was 15 minutes on Career Edge, and let's now move on to Graduates First. Now, you can get to Graduates First via www.uclan.ac.uk/graduatesfirst, or you can go to Popular and you can click on Aptitude Tests. So either way, they'll both take you through to the same place, and that would be here. So this is the first system, Graduates First, and this is really preparing you more for, like, if you went to go to a job and they gave you a test as part of your interview, or as part of your assessment centre, or as part of, getting a job with them. So I remember when I was first starting out, I went for one job, and they gave me a test on mathematics, and I was really, my maths is not my strongest subject, so I was completely phased by that, and maybe I didn't do as well as I should have done. But if I'd practiced in here first, I wouldn't have been as scared about that test. I also, as well, in one of the jobs, got a test on coding, how to code in a particular programming language. Unfortunately, I didn't know that programming language, so I actually answered it using the answers for a different programming language. So obviously I didn't get it, but the coding principles were the same, but I just didn't know that particular language, unfortunately. So that was my fault for not checking before going for the job what it was that they were actually looking for. Could I actually fulfill their criteria? Otherwise I wouldn't have applied for it, because I would have known it wasn't suitable. So this basically helps you to kind of do that transition of, like, the employer's asking you to do a test, so you can prepare for it. Now, when you come here, you can actually select by different sectors, and then if you select a sector, you can also then select by the types of assessment that you want to do. And sometimes they tell you the kind of assessment that they're going to give you. And then that helps you to kind of get to the practice that you want to do. But you don't have to do it that way. You can actually go here and you can actually select the different types of kind of assessments that you could get at job interviews here. So let's have a look. So numerical, I mentioned that before, like math skills. So if you click on any of these ones here and press start, it's going to kind of give you some mathematical things here. So this one's looking at a table, giving the answer. Let's have a look. So what was the total approximate number of mortgage approvals for the USA and Italy combined? So that's a time frame from 2015 to 2005 to 2007. So that's that 2-year gap. And then you're looking for Italy, which is this purple one, and then you're looking for the US, which is this blue one. So you'd have to add these two together, and then you'd work out what answer it there. So that's quite a hard one. It's not necessarily kind of straightforward and easy. That really requires some thought to do, and it's not kind of like maths, like 10 plus 10 or something. It's more like, let's look at some data, let's get the answers. So it's really, really worthwhile practicing the numerical reasoning, because they are identifying how quickly you can kind of look at that information and then be able to give a right answer, a correct answer to it. So it's worthwhile, definitely, if you get asked for numerical reasoning, definitely practicing some of those. And even if you don't get asked, it's numerical reasoning and key things like language, like verbal. That's probably why they're at the top, because they're probably the kind of things that the employer's kind of very, very keen for you to be able to do very well in. So in verbal reasoning, I have to read that piece of text and say whether it's true or false or not. So, it's those kind of things, like, being able to kind of look at something and kind of say, well, can I identify the answer correctly to it? So the employer's basically looking at your particular competencies in your really, really basic mathematical and verbal kind of reasoning areas. And then you kind of move into things like logical. So let's have us do one of these. Okay, kind of what you would expect. What comes next in the sequence? Looking at it right now, I don't particularly have any ideas to that, but I'd have to kind of work it out and I'd have to say what it was. So, I do struggle with these kind of tests. So it's really worthwhile practicing, if you believe the employer is going to be asking you for some kind of particular logical set of questions. And also as well, kind of spatial. And it's these kind of things that you don't really think about, but if you go into it, it's a very, very similar as well. But which figure is identical to the first? So there's the first one. So which one is identical? I think they've rotated it. I'm going to show my stupidity here. I have to rotate it round. It's looking a bit like that one. But maybe that's flipped, maybe that's mirrored. No, that's not really that. Maybe it's that one. No, it's not a circle, it's a square. See, even then, I'm going to fail getting that job. If I've not done this practice, I'm going to kind of not get as good a marks. So it really gives you an idea of kind of like how you can kind of go about practicing. Now, a really interesting part of this is game assessment. So employers are actually increasingly starting to give candidates sort of game-like tests. And you would kind of think that could be quite good, but in some ways, sometimes it's good to practice these things. So this one here, I think, is about, let's have a look and see. I think this is a memory test. Let's have a look here. I'm going to play it. Right. So I've got to remember where these things are. So let's have a look. Okay, I can remember that. That's quite easy. It's going to get harder and harder. How good a memory do I have? Okay, let's see. Oh no, I've made a mistake already. That was just a misclick. That wasn't a memory problem. That was just a misclick. But you get the idea. The employer is going to potentially test you with something that's kind of like a game. What else have we got? I quite like this one. This is kind of like to test to see how much of a risk taker you are. So you have to inflate the balloon. And the balloon might pop. Oh no, I've not collected it before it popped. Oh no, I took too much risk. But here, I can't collect it straight away because that would be unrisk. I'm going to inflate a little bit, then I'm going to collect it. So, it kind of tests whether the person is kind of a risk taker. Now, it might be they might want you to be more risky in certain type of roles because they might want you to be a speculator. But in other type of roles, it might not want you to take risks. So you might have to identify, like, how good am I going to do on this test to kind of see, like, are they kind of, thinking that I'm going to be too risky or too unrisky. So that would be about knowing the kind of job role and the kind of understanding, whether you should be a risk taker or not. So yeah, there's various different games in here, and these seem to be going up all the time. So there's going to be lots of new different types of games to kind of do and play. Video interviews is interesting. We have video interviews on the other platform, as you'll remember. So we had Interview 360. This is slightly different because they're actually based on competency and strength-based interviews. So these are ones that employers kind of deal with on a regular basis. They ask people for. So you can actually click into them and say you've got your kind of device available, and then you can start doing the interview. Hey, got the interview there, and I can say, do next, etc., etc. So I can kind of work through that, and it basically analyzes as well your face as you're doing it, and it kind of tells you like whether it thinks you were kind of like unhappy in the interview, or whether you were overly happy, or whether so it's looking at your face as well and giving you that kind of information to kind of analyze your kind of interview. So yeah, it's worthwhile maybe having a little bit of a look through that one as well as the one that's also on the other platform too. Now, if we go back into here again, we do have some other ones too. Things about personality. There's also some assessments in career edge for personality as well, but you can actually do sort of personality assessments here. Then you've also got situational judgment analysis, and as mentioned before, coding. If there are any people out there that are going into database roles, so it might be that you're not a computing student, but many roles nowadays they do like it if you do have some kind of programming or data skills, because many roles are becoming a lot more technical these days. So you've got these common programming language. Python's a really well-known programming language. C#, you get a lot of money if you're a C# programmer. JavaScript, is a very, very well-known one, and also general ability kind of coding. So if I was to go into the easy one here, it's going to come up with a test here, and it's going to ask me some questions. So what does syntax refer to? Syntax refers to where is it? Rules and structures that define how the code should be written. So I bet I could easily do that one, but I think if I got to the hard one, I think I would probably struggle with the harder version. But anyway, you know, it's just useful sometimes, you know, if you are somebody who wants to know a little bit about coding, you could maybe try and test yourself on the basic understanding of how programming languages work. Also, as well, there's other bits as well. These quite well-known tests like Watson, Glazier, IPAT, and CAP. And if you go into any of these, you also can kind of experience what it would be like to do these particular types as well. So this is basically asking you to define the truth of particular statements. So you can have a go at that one as well. So I think the thing really is just going on and maybe having a bit of a play and just having a go. I think things like numerical and verbal and logical are going to be best, and then the game assessments, and then probably, you know, they're kind of the things that are probably going to be perhaps a little bit more common than you would maybe get. So that's useful there. Now, in the My Results area, this is very interesting. And by the way, if you're thinking that these are my results, they're all the red negative ones. I didn't do these. These are just ones that were put in for me. So no, I didn't get most of them wrong. But it tells you how many tests you've taken, how much time you've spent on the tests. And then if you click into them, you can kind of see, you know, how well you've done against other people. So, you know, I'm a low compared to others. I can also see which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong. And also as well, it gives me some ideas about how to make changes. So it doesn't kind of just say, well, okay, you did badly and leave you there. It kind of goes, well, how could I improve? And then so maybe it would be a good idea to read like, okay, well, how could I make the improvements here? You know, how can I become more accurate? How could I do it more quickly? So there's a lot of information on this one. Some of them have fewer information, some of them have a lot of information, but it kind of makes sense, you know, that you would, you know, look at your results and kind of look at the suggestions for making an improvement, because then you could get better and better and better. And you can also download the results here, and you can retake the test and see if you can make improvements to it. Because obviously, you know, if you're going for a job that you really want and they're telling you that you need to do an IPAT test, well, you should probably do this as often as you can to get 100% and make sure that you really know it inside out. Because when you come to the test, you can sail through it, you'll be really confident, and they'll be very impressed. So it's those kind of things there. Now, this bit here that says My Learning, it's got lots of videos that show you how to do really well in the different types of tests or things. So if I click game, it shows me how to do well in game-based assessments. If I click on logical, it shows me how to do well in logical assessments. So if I click on the videos, very, very short, bite-sized videos, just giving you those really great insights. So if you don't really want to read a big chunk of text about how you can improve, instead, you might want to watch a very short video about it instead. I'm sure that many people who are students will probably jump all over short video guides. And they're really nice. They've got nice music and they're well produced. They do look like really, really nice videos to look at. And there's so many of them. There's about 200 of them or something like that. So there's a lot there. The last bit here is this bit about CVs. And what you can do is you can you can put your CV into the platform. And then you can go online and you can copy and paste the job description that you want to apply for and paste it into here. And then the system will will look at the CV and look at the job description, and it'll tell you how good a match it thinks you are for the role. And then it'll give you some reasons why it thinks that. Now, it might be that if you think you are a better match from what it's saying, you can have a look and say, okay, maybe I haven't got the right kind of keywords in my CV that maybe it's looking for. Maybe I'm missing something, you know, that it's going to tell me that I'm missing. So to be able to compare your CV to a job description is quite interesting. I wouldn't kind of say that it was infallible. But it might be something of interest that you want to put in and kind of think, well, you know, why is it saying that I'm a low match for this role? What is it saying that I can make a change to my CV to make me a better match for this role? So I'm saying take it with a pinch of salt in some ways, but it could be something that might be interesting just to have a bit of a look and see you know, how it kind of matches up and things like that. One other thing, we've got 1 minute left. I'm doing really well, actually managing the 15-minute time things, which is really, really good. Down the bottom right, there's these employer job application guides, and at the moment there's around 100 of them, and they're spread over lots of different sectors. And so that's quite useful because it means that, you know, if you were interested in a job with a type of company in a type of sector, you can click on the particular ones and it'll basically tell you what it's like to apply for that organization. So how to complete a job application for this company, how to practice for their assessments, how to practice for their video assessment, how to practice for their final stage assessment, what kind of tests maybe you should think about doing, tells you about the company, tells you about their core values. That's very useful because if you know the company's core values at interview, you can impress them by knowing that, by answering the question in that way. And then their recruitment process, what's the steps of their recruitment process, how to apply with them online, what that is like, what their form is like, what kind of other tests that relate to that as well. Now, these are quite long sometimes. But if you really, really wanted to go and work for this company, you know, if you did and read this and did what they were saying, you probably were very much a very high quality candidate for them because, you know, you've really sort of looked in. So it's not as if there's one for every job out there. It's only 100, but they are in key industries. And so it's worthwhile having a look at, you know, companies that are similar to that one there. Right, I've gone slightly over on this one, so we're going to jump over and we're going to go to the last system, which is Student Circus. So if you go to www.uclan.ac.uk/Student Circus, you can come to this page here and it will tell you a little bit about what Student Circus is and what Student Circus offers. This is mainly for international students. However, if you are thinking about working abroad in another country, it could also be valuable for you as well. So you don't necessarily switch off if you're not an international student, because there could still be something for you in here. Now, this one you have to sign up for. All the other systems, if you click to them, they should go into the platform automatically. But this one you do have to sign up for using your UCLan email address. And we do ask you not to use your UCLan password when you are registering, just for security purposes. But, you know, the system has been determined to be all secure and everything. But, you know, it's good practice not to use your UCLan password when you're registering for some other system. Anyway, so you can sign up here and register for the platform. If you've already got a login, you can click login here. And that will take you to a login page where you can log in or you can register. And then you'll come into the platform here. Now, there's a dashboard here that gives you kind of an overview of the kind of things that are available to the platform straight away. But we're just going to jump into these bits along the top. But I'm going to switch to jobs now. The first jobs that it's showing you here are visa-sponsored jobs. So these are great for international students because you know that the company that is listing the job actually does sponsor you with your visa. So you can see here, actually, I'm just going to switch this one to, go back to visa-sponsored jobs. There are 1,269, which is quite a nice number at the moment. And look, with some quite big companies, Disney and British Aerospace and Airways, sorry. But there's lots and lots of different roles available. And you can also select what kind of sector. So is it business? Is it engineering? Is it other sectors? What companies or what locations you might like to work at? And whether they're internships, of course, or whether they're placements. So not necessarily all graduate jobs. You might require a placement, or you might require an internship. And so you've got those options there as well to select. So these are really good for international students because you know that these roles have been checked. So you know that with your visa, you would be able to apply, you know, but for those roles. Also, jobs in home country. This is good for if you're looking to go and work back in the country you've come from. So if you come from Germany to study in the UK, you might then want to go back and have a job in Germany. So then you can look at that there. It's also useful, though, if you are looking to kind of find a job abroad. So if you wanted to go and work in, let's say you're in the UK now and you wanted to go and work in, let's see, Spain, you can have a look and you can, okay, there's some jobs in Spain. Maybe I'd like to apply for those. And you can favorite the jobs as well. And it does keep a log of the jobs that you've applied for to back in the dashboard over here. Also, Yeah, and if you go into the job roles, you can have a look at the roles, and it tells you lots. Oh, actually, not much that particular job role. So maybe that was a bad example. And did you apply for the job? Yes or no? So there we are. But most of the jobs that you would apply for wouldn't be blank. Let's go and have a look at this one here. Ah, here we are. So it tells you all about that particular job role for that particular one there. An internship with Disney sounds nice, doesn't it? You probably wouldn't have to work on the theme park, hopefully. I didn't apply for it, but there you go. So you get all sorts of different roles in here. Now, this one here is called the Career Ignition Hub. And these are lots of videos about how to do well as an international student. So, how hard is it to get sponsorship? Is it good to know how to be an entrepreneur? Businesses in the UK versus your home country. What's that like? What's it like to work for a UK business? These are all of the careers people who are doing videos for you in here. So the people who know a lot about this kind of area, and the videos continue on here as well. So how to avoid mistakes when applying for jobs in the UK. So applying for jobs in the UK is different to applying for jobs in your home country often, so it's quite a good idea to have a little bit of watch some of the videos, get a little bit of learning of what it's actually like to make a job application in a different country. So it might be though that you're applying as a UK student to work in Spain. What is it like, to actually do that? And you'll find that mostly in the country guides. And so if you go look in the country guides, so if I wanted to work in a particular country, I could kind of go and find out what it was like to have it. How would I make a CV to work in Brazil? What an interview might be like in Brazil? What it's like to network in Brazil? So you can basically have a look at the jobs. So if I'm going to go to the overview here, and then kind of look through job sectors in that country. But then I might want to find out what it's like to do a CV in that country. What are they looking for specifically in the CV in that country? And many of them will be the same, but some things are not. I mean, in some countries, they don't like photographs on the CV, but in some countries, photographs are mandatory. You have to have a photograph on the CV. So it's useful to know. So they have kind of lots of different kind of advice on things like cover letters and placements, but these are mostly focused on it from an international perspective. So whereas in Career Edge, it's mostly focused on just a general perspective of CV guidance. These are more focused on, what would it be like for an international student writing a CV, or what would it be like for an international student doing an online test. So the focus really inside this platform generally is like a lot more focused around, what it would like to be an international student.